Hey everyone, I'm Boom.
And I'm Spice, and this is a very special edition of Boom and Spice Book Advice, Episode 10, Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman.
Heck yeah, Season 1, Volume 1, coming to an end.
A year and a half in the making. Crazy. Boom, are you excited to talk about this book?
I'm super excited to talk about Go Set a Watchman.
I'm pumped.
I think it's going to bring good closure to the season as a whole and our Harper Lee. I mean, it's about all the closure you need on Harper Lee. Is
in a few sentences.
Second book out of 2.
Got published right when she died, just about, within a couple of years of each other, which is something we're going to have to talk about. That's one of the major threats of this book, that its proximity to her demise is very interesting and very contentious about, whether or not it should be read and by who and under what context. However, Boom, before we begin with this episode, I've got some gifts because Boom and Bam gave me a couple of Christmas presents pertaining to the podcast. While I always planned on getting Boom some new books and stuff for the podcast, finale of season 1, I didn't anticipate, such a good kindness to be brought to me, beforehand. So here in this bag that's going to crinkle terribly, I've got a couple of gifts.
Some bonus ASMR.
I'm going to give you some more at some point, but I'm a little hard pressed for cash at the moment. So this is
I
what
hear
I
that. Okay, all right. I got Octavia Butler, Pattern Master, a patternist novel.
Mm-hmm. I think it's the first in a series.
Nice.
I believe.
Very cool. I'm excited for that. I've actually got my other brother watching Caleb. I guess I could give that out.
Yeah.
Is watching Kindred, the new show on Hulu. So
how's he like it?
He is obsessed with it. I'm like, it's like the book.
Read the book.
Try the book. I'm sure it's better. And Miss Dalloway, which is awesome because I did purchase Miss Dalloway, but my puppy did not love me having it. I guess he spilled a drink on it and ruined it.
I've since made Boom whole again. I'm glad.
So now I can actually get back to the program.
Yep.
Nice, thank you.
Hey, no problem, buddy. And I'm gonna get you some more at some point. It's just
yeah, no
just
problem.
where I'm at
No,
financially.
I appreciate it.
And happy 10 episodes.
Happy season 1. I'm proud of both of us.
Yeah, and I'm glad we're keeping with the schedule we're on.
I know. Yeah, that's the other thing. Season 1's ending, but our pace is only getting better.
It's crazy. I finished 2 books a couple of weeks ago in the same week. It's nuts.
I was just talking with Bam about that. I have just been on a tear.
Yeah, it's nuts.
So the passion's still there.
Yep.
Listeners, you're not getting rid of us.
No, I was thinking about it. The podcast is not our entire friendship, and unless the listener knows us personally, then you wouldn't have any idea. But we've been pals. I did the math. Nearly 10 years now. Just about.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yep. 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, 4 years of college. That's almost 10 years, just about.
Yeah.
Which is pretty nuts.
That is pretty nuts. Yeah, so there, the podcast is only about 1.5 years out of almost 10.
Crazy. And I was thinking about it. We changed so much in the past year and a half. Boom went from a small little condo he was living in with his gal to a house with an undefined number of doors, and windows
and rooms. Yeah.
And, I'm approaching my degree. I'm coming in on the closing stretches, and Bam's still a bum, but he's trying his best. He's doing all right.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to look back on these episodes,
Nice.
Just season 1 as a whole, compared to when we get to season 25, and
Yeah, crazy.
And we both made it by then, as whatever we're going to be when we grow up.
Yeah, when we grow up. Such a funny thing to say as a couple of adults, but it's true. Now, is there something you would like to say to past Boom, if you could, and future Boom, which you can?
How far past Boom?
First episode, Frankenstein Boom.
Well, if I could say anything like podcast related, it would be like just look into Spotify a little, just like a tiny bit further, because I was on the website and I just didn't look at all the parts of it. We could have been recording into Spotify. Now I'm backtracking. So that would have been one. But besides that, I guess it would just be. I don't know. I'd just be excited because this thing's actually going to work out.
Yeah.
Like this isn't just going to be a whim.
Just a couple of white dudes sitting around talking about nothing on a podcast.
Yeah,
Can't
it's
be those
something we're
guys.
going to be doing it. So that's cool. And then future me, I'm just excited to see what we get to read coming up.
Yeah.
I know we have more plans.
So much planned.
The next couple of years can encompass.
Oh, there's so many projects that we've discussed, ladies and gentlemen.
But it's great. I mean, the pace that I'm reading right now is way higher than it's ever been. So that's cool. There's a lot of books I want to read, and this is a good way to get closer to it. How about you, Spice? Past and future.
I'd tell past me to try and take advantage of the downtime we had. Because now we fill in the cracks with our reading and we're killing it. But we could be so much further along if only we knew how good it could have gotten and how good it has gotten.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. When we were just doing our one book whenever we could.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like we've got our series books, but
Fantasy,
yeah,
like,
in between those, we've got a bunch of stuff
We're
going on,
exploring
a
new
couple of
projects,
projects. So yeah,
it's so
definitely a lot
exciting.
more fill. That way, we're not just sitting on books waiting for the right time to get together.
Yep. Then future me, I would encourage him to try and explore new genres. Because I stepped into your, field of expertise with fantasy. And while I haven't enjoyed everything, it hasn't been the same level of enjoyment as I get from the top, cream of the crop when it comes to slice of life, short stories, and all that. I feel like what I've gained through the books that I enjoyed in terms of writing craft, like when it's Frank Herbert's opening scene of Dune, or Liza Locke Lamara when it's like building up that team dynamic. That's something I love reading.
Mm-hmm.
Just like I love a cohesive unit. I love when people fill in gaps. I don't know. I think it's a carryover because I love basketball. I love specialists in basketball. I like people who just shoot threes. I like people who just play defense. And I get some of that in these books. So that's something I'd encourage to myself because I've enjoyed my excursions into fantasy so much.
Yeah.
Is to just keep exploring new genres.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there's something that neither of us has read, but we could maybe do a new genre
Once we're done with
day
fantasy.
of the week.
What? We've got so
yeah,
much fantasy.
we've got time though. We'll get there.
A part of me,
We'll get there.
a little part of me wants to describe the new projects coming up, but we've got a while to go until that's ready too. Do you want to discuss it or do you want to just tease it?
We might be able to at least tease it, and then I know we're gonna do like a wrap up episode.
Yeah.
Like just a season 1 thoughts. Maybe that'd be a good time to
let's save it for
unveil
then. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. This project, it's quite a project.
It's immense. It's going to be.
We've been working on it for a while, and we're gonna be working on it for a while.
I've still got a further at least 3 books to read in this project, at least. So it's exciting.
I've got pages left of my most recent book for the project.
I've got 400 pages left in one of them, and then 2 or 3 whole extra books that I need to read.
Yeah. I think
I
I'm a
say.
little bit behind you on the project.
We've got time. We've got time.
Yeah.
Now, boom, before we get into the spoiler section, did you read it audiobook or did you read it physical?
I did audiobook.
And how did you like it?
It was okay. I don't know that it added anything. It was actually Reese Witherspoon was the narrator.
Did she do a good job?
Yeah, it was fine. I was listening to it really sped up, so it didn't sound much like her. But it was good. It was definitely keeping me occupied in the car, and it wasn't super long.
I'm glad.
It was a good audiobook.
So, when I read Go Set a Watchman, I don't know if you recall, I read it in about a day.
Yes,
Just one
I do
day.
remember.
It's about 300 pages, but I read it in a day, and I enjoyed it a lot more than To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the overarching thing here.
But there's also the morality aspect, because I'm reading the blurb about the author. I read it physical. That's what I was getting to. And the on the cover jacket it reads about the author. Harper Lee is one of America's most celebrated and influential authors. She is the author of the acclaimed novels To Kill a Mockingbird, 1960, and Go Set a Watchman, 2015. She has received numerous literary awards and honors, including the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Lee was born in 1926 in the small town of Monroeville, Alabama, and attended Huntington College and the University of Alabama, where she studied law. Lee divided her time between New York City and Monroeville. She died on February 19th, 2016, in her hometown at the age of 89. So if you noticed anything about that, dear listener, Go Set a Watchman was released in 2015. She died in 2016 at the age of 89. So whether or not it's fair to judge this work when it was published so late in her life and had gone so long without seeing the light of day is something that you will need to discuss amongst yourselves, come to your own conclusions about, and something that we're going to have to tackle once we're done with the spoilers, or not spoiler section, rather.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very
And our comments section, maybe. We don't get a whole lot of those, but if
Oh,
we
what
get
they
them,
do,
we'll
I'm
reply to
glad.
them. Yeah, we'd love to.
Absolutely.
And this would be one for discussion. We'd be happy to have it with you.
Oh, before I forget, triggers, trigger warnings. There's a lot of racial slurs in this. Just racist tones. There's a little bit of sexism. Was there any sort of assault? I don't think so. Not like the first one.
No.
No. But in terms of that sort of harsh language, coarse language, been advised, if that's not something you can handle, you can skip this book. And lastly, before we leave the non-spoiler section, did you like it? And who would you recommend it for?
I enjoyed it more than the last from the author. It wasn't my most favorite, like compared to the rest of our season.
Agreed.
But from where I was expecting it, it was higher. So I enjoyed that aspect of it, and there's definitely some good there. So I would recommend it if you've read To Kill a Mockingbird. I feel like you pretty much have to read that if you're going to read this. So on that note, maybe if you haven't read either, I'm sure there's a good chance you've read To Kill a Mockingbird. So
Yeah.
if you have, I'd recommend reading this too.
My feelings are complicated. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. And I still struggle with the fact that it's a white woman writing about issues that affect black people, but in this case at least, she focuses it more on dealing with the two-sided nature, the duplicity of these people who are in her community, which I feel like can transcend this book. If you're talking like McCarthyism and the way that these people on one hand we're vilifying communists and gay people, and on the other hand, we're doing, illegal activities outside of it. And it goes all the way up in terms of politicians nowadays, and how often people are quoted as vilifying gay people but come out as gay, or have been outed as gay, that type of deal. And that comes up in this book, not directly, but allegorically.
Yeah.
And I think it's valuable in that regard, beyond the racial implications.
Yeah, I think you're completely right.
I think the ending, which we'll get into in the spoiler section, is a little funky, but that's not the fault of Harper Lee, because it's sort of to bury, to bury the quick and get to the lead here. I don't especially like that they put this out, and I don't know where she was at cognitively in terms of improving this. And I think the ending might have been different if she had given it more time over the years and expected it to be released. So that's something you need to grapple with in terms of your critiques of this book may be valid for most pieces of literature, but she was not provided the opportunity necessarily to exact creative choices that she may have if she wanted it published in the first place. And I'm not going to question the morals of people who did release this book, but it's also not fair to assume that she was given the opportunity to veto or the opportunity to give her 2 cents. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, please, at least in my estimation, you don't have to do anything I say. I'm merely a podcast guy that you listen to. However, approach this with some nuance, because a real person wrote this book and real people made the choice to release it. And whether or not those were the same people, or if they were in the right state of mind when they said it, is unclear.
Yeah.
On that note, the next book. So I believe that's right. Next book in the canon, I think we're starting a new series. We're going to call it Random Reads. And it's going to be very, very hit here and there, very spotty, because it's meant to fill time where we are setting up for new things and clearing out old books that we've read. So it's going to be very similar to recent reads, but it will be a series rather than a collection of loose ends. And in this case, we will be reading Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway, and we will be giving a full review on that. And that'll be coming down the pipeline. Excited, Boom?
Yes, I am. I'm glad to have a copy again, and I'm excited to get back into it. Virginia Woolf is one we like, and
friend of the show.
Have had return customer from the show. We've had a couple, different experiences with her books, so I'm excited.
It's always fun
to get into this one.
Even when it's not pleasant, it's still fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even our last episode with To the Lighthouse, in a book that we didn't love, we still loved a lot of it. So
I still care about Virginia Woolf and her perspective quite a bit.
Yes.
Remember that tweet I sent you that was like a screenshot of a Reddit post?
Yes.
It's that woman who was like, how come my husband won't call me an author?
Yeah,
and you assume, you assume it's like fan fiction, but she's published.
She's got several published books. She makes thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah, it's a career.
Call her an author.
It's
Virginia Woolf clenching her fist
exactly.
Right now.
Rolling in her grave.
Oh, gee.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, that dude deserves to get haunted. I'd like the specter of Virginia Woolf to haunt his days. On that goofy note, I've been Spice.
And I'm Boom.
And, we'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Boom and Spice Book Advice.
Oh,
that reminds me. I was talking to my girlfriend, and that's another thing that's changed. About halfway through, maybe a little less, this podcast, I got a girlfriend, and it's been the longest time I've dated anybody. It's just a lot of stuff has changed. My dog is new.
Our situations are
Constantly.
Very different all the time.
I was talking to her, and I realized we started with the same format that we use now. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's always like every time we do it, like just that silence we're waiting to get going again.
It's always silly. It's always silly.
Yeah, it almost it makes me laugh every time we get started.
So
Because it's
funny.
like, for what? Like you can pause it or exit whenever you want.
Yeah, that's great.
But it stays. We'll see if it's still here in season 2.
I can only
I've got
imagine.
a good feeling
I
that
hope so.
it will
I hope it
be.
remains.
I've got a good feeling a lot of this general format's gonna be here.
Season 2 in like another year and a half.
Yeah, when we get to season 2.
So we've got a lot. We got a lot read, a lot to read. Boom. What are your preliminary thoughts on this book? What's like just what'd you like about it?
So I guess I'm gonna start. I was since it's been a little bit since we've read this.
Mhm.
I was just looking up some stuff on this book, and almost any time you bring up this book, there's always To Kill a Mockingbird tied in with it.
Agreed.
And it seems like the overwhelming consensus is that this book is a huge step down from To Kill a Mockingbird. Like every piece of like all these reviews I'm watching online are just like totally opposite, I think, of the way that we see this in general. But yeah, I thought it was good. I liked getting it in the future, getting to see how Scout's grown up, and I really like a lot of the I don't know how to describe it, getting to learn how to set her own Watchman as Atticus becomes a human to her towards the end. I mean, it's a lot of good lessons that I think we all can kind of learn. These people, not everyone in our lives is. She attaches Atticus as a god. Just the good of the town, the moral compass of everybody. So, learning to look within to find reason is a valuable tool. And that's a big part of this novel, and I like that a lot.
I think it goes to show that if Harper Lee had taken the time to, which I'm not going to criticize the career of Harper Lee. She wrote one book, and while a one-hit wonder in music is more vilified because they release albums, dozens of songs are released in a career. Most people do not release that many books. Even the most prolific of authors don't release. It might be an album's worth of books if you counted one as a song. So, one hit is more like one full album of hits type of deal, So I'm not going to sit here and try and parse whether or not she had a successful career, because she did. But I think it goes to show with this book that she could have done more if she wanted to, or if she had the means to. Because, there's that famous story about her friends funding her early writing career.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not she worked afterwards and what she did, I'm not aware of. But if she was from more means, who knows if she could have been more prolific, or if she merely had more motivation to be, who knows. But the fact that you've got these two strands here, you've got the racial element, which she's already proven with To Kill a Mockingbird, which, love it or hate it, it's more progressive than the stuff of its time. And it's still a useful allegory for kids today. And on the same token, you've got this this felling of an idol. This learning to no longer worship someone in your life. The ability to knock down someone who meant something a lot to you because they deserve it. That's important. Because I've had to do that. Grandparents and parents and just people shattering the illusion that you thought they were maybe not perfect, but better than they are. Not to say that they were bad, but they had done bad things, And it's hard. It's hard for children, it's hard for adults. And I think if she had included that in her original book, it would have been a harder pill to swallow. But I think it would have been a useful message for a lot of children to hear. So her running these two in parallel goes to show that you could split this book in half and just fill it up with water on each side, so it's another 300 pages each, and you would have two good books. And I think that is really cool. I think this shows her craft more than To Kill a Mockingbird, despite its rough edges due to being more of a manuscript than actually being a book that was meant to be published.
Yeah, and she does a lot of good like mental, like inside the mind battle wording in this. Like the part I remember is Scout getting ready to have this argument with Atticus. Yep. I really like that like inner turmoil of like, I don't even want to fight this guy because he's, every time we argue, he always comes out and says things, and I can't fight with that. So I think that's totally a relatable thing.
Yep.
Especially when talking to this idol, it's like, what am I going to say? This guy always has the answer to what I'm talking about. He's always going to just diffuse me. So her getting to like mentally prepare for this and then go through with the doing of it that was really cool. And she does a good job of that.
Yeah. I think killing off Jem so early and so sort of like offhandedly was a mistake, but a mistake she couldn't have foresaw when she wrote this. Because presumably, I think she wrote this before she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, I was looking at that also.
Yeah.
Like this was supposed to be the book.
Yes, and it got then, sort of like...
Yeah,
it
wasn't.
Yeah, twisted into To Kill a Mockingbird. And if she had known, maybe not beloved, because Jem is fine. But Jem is also... It's a nostalgia thing, and I think that's a big part of why people prefer To Kill a Mockingbird, to be honest. It's nostalgia, a lot of it. But he's still a major character in the history of American fiction. And to have him strewn away the way he is not befitting someone within a book in the canon of American literature the way this is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's another thing. Like, I just don't think it's fair to criticize this novel the way you would other ones.
Yeah,
she just
exactly.
She had no way of knowing.
The pieces weren't all on the table.
What are you going to do? Make 88-year-old Harper Lee sit and rewrite it?
Go back and
in the
reorganize this, have the plot people, like the continuity police.
In light of 60 years of change, 60 years of her being mythologized, her story being codified in, the American literary, tradition.
Yeah. And then, I mean, when we go a month without talking about one of these books after we read it, it takes me either rereading it or, to expect someone to have to, like, get back into that frame of mind that she was in 60 years ago.
At 88.
At 88 years old, near her deathbed.
Yes.
It's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah. And who knows if that was just, like, age catching up with her, or if it was some sort of disease that's typically afflicting old people. Mm-hmm. Who knows? But, like, who can tell if she was in her right state of mind at the time to agree to this, much less to have any creative sway? And, like, it just doesn't feel right. It's such a shame, because I enjoy this book, and I think it's so much more bold, the way they've got, all the townsfolk going, they're part of the clan. It's like that old short story, Young Goodman Brown by Nathaniel Hawthorne, about that guy, he's going to the woods, and he meets with the devil, and everyone's there, and his wife, Faith, is there, and, you're like, oh my God, everyone's in the woods with the devil. But so are you, Goodman Brown. You are in the woods with the devil. And it's like, yeah, Atticus is there, and he says he's checking in and make sure they don't go too crazy, but you're there.
Yeah.
You are condoning this with your presence. You're meant to be the Watchman. And you're sitting here with these out-and-out racists, the people who wanted to lynch him and, his client in the first book. And
exactly. Yep. So yeah, so to grant any kind of
credence.
just just like, well, we're just gonna let them. Is not okay, and then Scout realizes it, and no matter what he says to her during their argument, like it doesn't matter, Atticus. Like it doesn't matter.
And Harper Lee skewers him for it.
Yeah,
rightfully so. It's
so
bold.
it's great, and compared to To Kill a Mockingbird, where that doesn't happen, it's awesome. Yeah,
it's bold, it's brave, and like you imagine, like everyone's got racist parents. If they don't have racist parents, they almost certainly have racist grandparents. So you have to imagine, like, approaching someone with that sort of status within your life, and how that would make you feel, and how challenging that would be. Mm-hmm. And her writing this must have been hard because she probably knew a lot of racists. Like, definitely. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
It's sort of like the Flannery O'Connor thing, where we were like, hey, was Flannery O'Connor a racist, or was she just using the N-word to, like add cultural, context? And then the first article that pops up was, how racist is Flannery O'Connor, rather than, was Flannery O'Connor racist? Oh, man. So, like, with that in mind, they were, of similar ages at the time. Like, these two were contemporaries. And, one was pretty vehemently anti-racist, and the other one was pretty
not so.
Yeah. Almost until
other
their
end
death.
Of that spectrum. Yeah.
So, it's a bold choice, a series of bold choices. I didn't love the ending where the uncle punches her and she comes to her reason and everything.
Yeah. Oh man, that was kind of.
But that's in the light of progress.
Yeah.
And in her day, I'm sure it felt a lot more palatable.
Exactly. That's exactly the thought that I, you got to think while that's happening. Got to remember when you are, in the place of this book, and for that it was probably not super out of the ordinary to have a family member smack sense into you.
Into a child, yeah. It hurts. It hurts me to look at this, because it's like exhuming a grave almost, Like, I imagine, I've got Google Docs upon Google Docs of poems I've written. And, my girlfriend's got this binder of poetry that I've written her. It's all laminated with funny little cartoons on them and stuff. Like, it doesn't really relate to the poetry. It's just, like, stuff I think would make her giggle. Mm-hmm. I drew her a cow, drew her a horse. And it's all in crayon, because if you mess up in marker, it looks sloppy. But crayon looks endearing. And
it's a pro art tip.
Exactly. For Boom being a fantastic artist. That hasn't come up, but he is a terrific artist. So that is a pretty funny thing to say in hindsight. But I imagine, if we grow old together, and I will presumably die before her, and, she goes, and there's this little binder. And, our grandkids hopefully go, and they're exhuming our estate, and they look at it. I would kind of hope that they keep it shut, because it wasn't made for them, it was made for her. And, if she chose to show people, that's her business. If Harper Lee chose to show people, that's her business. But whether or not Harper Lee was in the right mindset to show people is complicated. And it makes me really sad that there's a chance that people used their influence upon her to leverage her to do this thing that would be financially significant for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And it's and I know she was approaching public domain anyways at some point, so eventually it might have seen the light of day regardless. Like, I think The Great Gatsby just hit public domain, so 15 years or so, if that, either way it would have been down the pipeline eventually. But it bums me out deeply to imagine that, especially with something that, with a handful of retoolings.
Yeah,
and
to be that close.
It's so much better already than To Kill a Mockingbird, in my opinion. Just off its bravery alone. Like the whole, wolf in sheep's clothing, pulling the wool over her eyes for so long and being able to expose it. I think it's such a powerful message. I wish it had come out in McCarthy era United States. How do you feel, Boom?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that the overt, like, the theme of this book and what it goes to get across is accomplished super well, and it's super important. And like you said, it's brave and just missing just a small bit.
It's tweaks. It's tweaks.
Which is already impressive from a book that was written under these circumstances, where it was supposed to be maybe the first book, and then it was ultimately became the second book, so it's a reworking anyway.
Yeah. And something that had lived so long is merely a manuscript locked away.
Yeah, it had to have just been
There's no lockbox
put away
or something.
It's just, the way I've got old essays on my Google Docs I didn't turn in. If someone in 60 years, or I guess at this rate 70 years, asked me to turn in one of those, for a slightly different question posed, I would have a hard time trying to get the right stuff on that paper.
And we were just reflecting upon how a year and a half had changed so much in our lives.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point.
60 years separated Harper Lee from when she wrote it to when she published it. And she was 88 when she would have had her last chance to fix it up before it went off for publishing. I can't imagine doing anything at 88. There's no way I'm living to 88.
No. Nothing that requires the mental capacity that is shown in this book.
Yeah, to edit a book this complex, it's got so much more nuance than To Kill a Mockingbird. And there's so much stuff that like everyone talks about things don't fly today, some things, but some of it's reasonable. Adrian Peterson was just hitting his kid 10 years ago, if that, thought it was okay. The ending of this book, not that dissimilar. Just about 10 years ago it was released. It was written 60 years before that. How are you supposed to judge her for that? It's not fair. And she chose to publish the first book. I'm fine tearing that apart.
Exactly. Yep. That one she wrote, published it in the time frame that she allotted. It was her choice.
Yes.
Free reign.
Yeah.
This one, marginally better with the focuses she takes and
bold choices.
The choices that are in it. And I mean, you're forced to go just a little lighter on it. Just give it, or at least consider giving it that break.
It's hard for me to not give it the benefit of the doubt. It hurts so bad to, I am on the brink of tears just considering how, 88, and they're pressing you to release this book. What are you even supposed to do?
I can't even imagine what that looked like. How that had to, what must have been going through her mind as she may have been getting pressured into doing this thing she didn't anticipate doing.
And they write it off like it's the same person that wrote these two books. If you look at the cover jacket, none of this acknowledges her being that age. I'm trying to see if... So, it says, written in the mid-1950s, Go said Watchman imparts a fuller, richer understanding and appreciation of Harper Lee. Here's an unforgettable novel of wisdom, humanity, passion, humor, and effortless precision. Profoundly affecting work of art that is both wonderfully evocative of another era and relevant to our own times. It not only confirms the enduring brilliance of To Kill a Mockingbird, but also serves as its essential companion, adding depth, context, and new meaning to an American classic. And the blurbs say, Go Set a Watchman is such an important book, perhaps the most important novel on race to come out of the white South in decades. That's a complicated, loaded sentence right there. Then it says, Harper Lee's second novel sheds more light on our world than its predecessor did. That one, more fair, I'd say. I feel like that belongs on the front of the cover jacket more so. And then it says it provides valuable insight into the generous, complex mind of one of America's most important authors. None of this acknowledges the context in which it was written.
Exactly, like the very first part you read there. Where was that?
It's towards the middle. Or are you talking about the blurbs by other people?
Just the very first thing.
It's towards
with
the
the year.
Oh, you mean at the beginning of the podcast? Oh.
No, like the first quote you said. Here, written in the mid-50s. It doesn't give any indication that like
it was written
to completion in the mid-50s and purposely not published for 60 years because that was her plan.
And then virtually on her deathbed, she is potentially coaxed. Who knows? I don't know.
The way they portray it, it's like this is finished piece, mid-50s, just waiting on some crazy like when to go button. It's it's reasonable to assume it was written in the mid-50s and put away for whatever reason and not published for some reason, and then who knows why.
In an age where walking and talking and doing just about anything is difficult.
Yeah.
The recording artist, Anderson .Paak, he's part of Silk Sonic with Bruno Mars.
Yes, yeah.
So he has a tattoo that says, like, when I die, no one released new music of mine. No one was supposed to hear that stuff. It's just a bunch of demos. I think it's on his arm. That's what this makes me think of. I wish she had been aware of the culture that she was walking into at the end. Because I don't think it's fair. I think I'm going to sneeze. If you want to start talking.
Okay. I missed it. Is that our first live sneeze?
I think so. We're going to have to scrap it.
Yep. All right. Well, next episode.
I'm sorry I got us on such a tangent. It's just sad.
No, I think that's one of the most important things that we can talk about in this book.
When I die, I'd like you to release the episodes that are left in the can and then leave it at that.
I think most of what we recorded we're good with.
Yeah, you don't have to keep it going if you don't want to. You can start a new one with Bam or maybe my brother or something.
Yeah, that's gonna be that'd be a wild one. Like here's this. I'd have to give him like a picture book. Like, can you get through this by tomorrow?
Please. I will read you 10 pages a night of The Hour of the Star.
And we'll be done in a week.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it.
We can talk about it.
Oh, man. Boom. Now that we're near completion of Season 1, what is your official ranking of the top 10? We can revise it in the wrap-up episode in the coming weeks, but...
Okay. Let me see here.
So we got
I got
Frankenstein.
That's what I'm looking up the list.
A Room of One's Own. We've got Kindred, Beloved. We've got...
Oh, wow, we're up to 22 subscribers.
That's
Thanks,
crazy.
Community.
We've got To Kill a Mockingbird. We've got Go Set a Watchman.
Okay, here, I've got them in order.
Nice. All right. Got Frankenstein, To Kill a Mockingbird, Rebecca, A Room of One's Own, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Kindred, The Hour of the Star, Beloved, and To the Lighthouse with the new edition of Go Set a Watchman. Now, would you like me to start or do you want to go?
You can go ahead. I think I know my first favorite.
Yes.
I think we both have that one in common. But I definitely do. I think we do have some. I think as of the last rankings, we had a couple differences.
You know, it might be fun now that it's even, and it's like a 5-on-5 deal.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a draft?
Okay. Yeah, let's do it. Here, let's...
You know what? You want to play rock, paper, scissors, decide who goes first?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors. 1, 2, 3.
All right.
The old paper, scissors deal.
Classic.
Number 1 overall pick to the Spice Squadron. It is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. Off the board. Number 1 overall pick.
That's a power pick right there. Here, let me see.
Go, buddy.
Here's the draft board.
Yup.
All right. I think the number 2 overall pick is gonna be Rebecca.
That's tough. She was the next on my board. Oh,
Rebecca, Daphne du Maurier.
Oh, she's so good.
I had to do it.
Such a good author. I plan on reading her for one of those random reads at some point. Number 2 overall, or number 3 overall, number 2 pick for my team. You got to give your team name, by the way. I'm the Spice Squadron.
Okay. Boom Nation.
All right, Boom Nation. Number 3 overall pick. I'm going Frankenstein. I'm gonna have to go Frankenstein.
That's a strong pick. Now they're getting tough.
Yep. Oh.
Now they're getting tough. All right.
Number 4 overall. Who you got?
I think with number 4, I'm gonna have to take Hour of the Star. I don't want to let it fall any further.
Oh my god. That is nuts.
It might be.
Oh my goodness. That was not that high on my board. It's a bold pick. It is a bold pick.
It was. I just didn't want to end this draft without it.
That's a dark horse. For its sheer complexity, I think I'm going to go Beloved. Beloved is a hard book by one of my favorite authors. It's hard to imagine this podcast complete without Beloved.
Absolutely. Definitely an essential pick.
I think I know who you're going to take.
Oh, yeah. I think you've got a good idea about who I'm going to take. I'm going to have to go Kindred by Octavia
that's such
Butler.
Good value in the 6th round.
I know. That could have very easily been Hour of the Star on my board.
Top 3, top 4 pick. That is a tough choice. Oh, my goodness. Okay. For its value in perpetuity, I feel like this is a pick that will age well, as it's aged well ever since its release. I think you know what I'm going with. A Room of One's Own by Our Lady Virginia Woolf.
Oh man, they're still good. They're still a little tough. You know, I might have to go. I might have to go back to back. Virginia Woolfs.
No kidding.
With, I think I'm gonna have to do it with To the Lighthouse.
That's a good pickup in the final couple of rounds. I think I'm going. So, we have now, in order, gone. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Did you go Rebecca with your number 1 pick?
Yes.
Rebecca, Frankenstein. The Hour of the Star, Beloved, Kindred, A Room of One's Own, To the Lighthouse. This is the easiest pick in the entire draft. Go set a Watchman. That is a great last pick.
Yeah, see, that's the power of the number 1 pick of this draft.
You don't have to get.
You don't have to get. As soon as I lost that game, I was dreading this last pick of mine.
The gulf between those 2 books.
Yeah.
Half because of the quality, half because of the sheer boldness. Dark horse pick. I think that's a great pickup in the last round.
Okay, and then you know my last pick, To Kill a Mockingbird.
What do you think was the
Harper
pick of the
Lee.
draft?
I think, well, the first pick was the one that secures it, because then you also control the last pick. But I feel like Caged Bird, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, is an absolute powerhouse of this series, or of season 1.
Oh, yeah. That's one that's going to be hard to top in season 2.
Yeah, that book I mean, it changed the way I read books. That was an amazing book.
I got chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, that episode, by far my favorite episode, besides maybe Frankenstein, just for the nostalgia.
Yeah. And the Halloween Booktacular was a good time.
Yeah, and Hour of the Star. That's why I picked that one so high, too. And then, looking back at some of these books, we had a really fun season 1. It's been long on some of these, but Rebecca, I'll never forget reading Rebecca.
I'm so glad I got you into that book. I'm so glad.
I know. I I also loved reading our the Goodreads hate reviews of Rebecca. Did not finish. Yes. Boring.
The main character doesn't even have a name. That's the point. Oh, that's great. Oh, boom.
Yeah, I think our first 4: Cagebird, Frankenstein, Beloved for you, and then Rebecca, Hour of the Star, and Kindred.
Kindred was a great pick.
I almost went Kindred over Hour of the Star. I think
I would have swapped those if I were you.
Yeah, I feel like over my overall liking of the books, I'd probably say so. But I just wanted Hour of the Star on my team. I think they're going to be a good piece.
It's so weird.
It's just weird locker room guy.
Yeah. The Ron Artest of this draft.
But they're going to bring a little flair.
Yeah. They put people in seats. Oh man. Boom. Give me 3 goals for either the forthcoming season or the podcast in general.
Okay. The podcast in general, I would say I would like to be able to listen to season 1 on Spotify, let's say by the middle of this year. So maybe by the end of July.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit after the middle of this year to give me some slack. We've got one up, so we're 10% there.
Almost there.
But that'd be nice, without having a visual aspect to a podcast. It would be nice to just be able to pop headphones in and listen, because that's definitely a drawback. I mean, we don't have all that many listeners, but I'm a listener, and it'd be more convenient if I could not have my phone open while I was doing.
Which episode do you listen to the most, do you think?
I think I listen to Hour of the Star a lot. And then I do listen to Frankenstein quite a bit.
I go back to Frankenstein quite a bit.
I like listening to ourselves in that first go at it. I think there's something fun about that.
We chose such a good book to start. That was awesome. Goal number 2.
Goal number 2. I think we.
None of the previous goals, new goals.
Yeah.
Not the 12 books in a year mark or.
Yeah, no. Those are everyone's goals.
Yeah.
I would like to. Do you want to go goal for goal?
Yeah, sure. I got a goal.
Okay, all right.
Right. I'd like to have the first 5 books of season 2 read by the end of the year. Because we're not going to start season 2 by the end of the year. We've got... Jesus Christ. We've got 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 books on the docket. 19 if you include the holiday special. And then 20 if you include Mrs. Dalloway.
Yeah.
So.
And then with, the branches from this project we've got going on that has 42 books in its own series.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy.
It's a wild thing.
Yeah, we've got other projects we're considering. So, it'll be a while. But I'd like to have those read so that once we actually start season 2, I'd like to
we're able to just get season 2 out there.
I'd like to have season 2 done in 1 year, 1 full calendar year.
Yeah,
that'd be
and
sweet.
that could be completely reasonable too, because if we have them read in advance, we can knock out 2 episode nights.
Yeah, exactly. Number 2 for Boo.
Number 2, I would like to get some of these trilogies taken care of before we get to them.
Yeah.
So that we don't have to wait to get going with those.
That's
We've
hard.
got a couple trilogies on the way, and then like backup trilogies to those trilogies.
So many. Yep.
Those are the ones I want to start getting knocked out
Yep.
before I get too far into my personal reading, because I have a couple like personal reading goals too. There's a big book I'm trying to like space in. Another podcast one. I want to read Moby Dick this year.
Yeah.
Just
It's a fun
between
one,
everything, and that would give us another thing to do. But
Just do a
I'm
chapter
excited.
a day. You'll be done in no time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's the way I'll break into that goal, is just get like a couple chapters of Moby Dick down a week.
Maybe by the summer, because during the summer, I'm going to New England again.
Mm-hmm.
To not to say I don't live in New England. I am spending more time in New England. You don't know where I live, because they're doing a Moby Dick reading on a whaling ship, which I'm excited.
That's very
about.
cool.
Yeah. So I'll talk about that when
Okay,
we discuss
yeah.
Moby Dick on the podcast.
Nice. Okay, yeah. So I'll just try to get a chapter or 2 knocked out every week, maybe more. I'm sure once I get into it, I'm not gonna be able to stop. That's how
Once it gets
goes.
good, dude, it's so good. Once it
Yeah,
gets
so
going.
it'll probably be like chapter here,
Yep.
chapter there, 15 chapters here. We'll get it done.
Goal number 2 for me, I'd like to get short stories back into our rotation. I love short stories. I love Nathaniel Hawthorne and Carver and Cheever and Chekhov and Flannery O'Connor and just all these, like Ray Bradbury. So much fun. So I'd like to get those back into the rotation.
Okay. Yeah, my goal number 3 is similar to that. I'd like to get some poetry going again. I know we've got some coming up. We've got a very ready to go participant in BAM. He's got some like locked and loaded.
I'm glad.
And it'd be nice to have some people on for that too. Get some of these friends on here. I think Cameron wants to be on an episode. I'm pretty sure we've said Cameron before.
Yeah.
If not,
Boom's girlfriend.
my girlfriend Cameron. Yeah, she's wanting to read. But yeah, definitely more of the poetry. I want to write a darn short story, but we had an idea. I didn't get very far with it in a year.
That comes to my third goal, and that's to finish some projects.
Yeah.
Because we've got the forthcoming project that we're discussing. There's some other projects involving long-form series that I'd like to do. And then on top of that, there's things like our writing goals, our goals with BAM. I'd like to get him more involved because there's something there. He enjoys it, he just doesn't make time for it. And I want him to find a happy medium for himself. And I think he can get there. It's just going to take some pushing a little bit. So in that regard, I think he's like that's another goal of mine.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got tons of ongoing projects.
So many.
So completing projects is an important goal.
Seasons are easy. Seasons are easy to.
Well, they're laid out. It's
just $10.
As long as you get them, you're done. These, it's just they just keep expanding. So just kind of like being able to get the net around them.
The first project could be even longer. We are separating that and having a separate trilogy after that.
Yeah. So that's definitely a good one.
Or what are 3 things you're happy about with this season?
With this season, I think we did a really cool thing with making our first ever season only female artists.
Yep.
I'm happy we did that. And then I have not gotten to read a ton of this genre before, so I'm super happy I've done that because I found, potentially my favorite book, or one of them,
Yeah.
And then several I consider to be favorites now that I wouldn't have otherwise. And then I'm really happy with the way we've just been able to talk about books, like learn how to talk about books and how to explain how we feel about things, or to have someone who can help you express how you're feeling about a thing. Sometimes it's hard by yourself to think through problems like that.
These are such hard books.
So to have a back and forth on topics like this is definitely valuable.
I agree.
And I'm happy we got 22 subscribers.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that we exposed Nick and Bam to some poetry, in that, like, it took me, like, do you know my little villain origin story when it comes to poetry? So, AP Lit, my senior year, I was dejected. I was ready to get done with school and never go back. And it was one poem that saved me from being completely out of the loop, potentially forever. And it was Flames by Billy Collins, about Smokey the Bear lighting fires in the woods. And if it wasn't for that poem and a special teacher and just a little bit of good timing and energy, I may not write poetry now. I might not have grown into the person I am. I may not have read what I read that year. And there's a chance that I wouldn't be sitting here the way I am. We'd be doing other stuff. Boom and I have been friends for nearly 10 years. We'd still be pals. But this is a dynamic of our friendship that wouldn't have blossomed if it wasn't for that. And to impart at least a little bit of that onto other people, it's important to me because, Bam is a creative person who simply cannot find his outlet, seemingly. I am in a similar boat. I'm sure you've realized over the time that we've known each other that I'm a creative person. And it's just hard for me to have an outlet because a lot of mediums don't befit my skills, and this is one of them. And I'm really happy about that, to impart some of that on those people. Number 2, I'd say the ability to discuss this stuff with a friend, because it makes you feel a little lonesome to read a really good book and have no one to tell about it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic one right there. All the time, I'm especially before this. You just, not a whole lot of people are super into reading like we are.
And even people who are, it's a lot of nonfiction, or it's a lot of recently released things. And it's just not the same stuff
that we read is not common.
Yeah, or if it is, it's not common among our friends.
Yeah, that's the big one, among people you can actually talk with about it, and it's nice. It's definitely nice. I look forward to getting to talk about this stuff.
I agree. And then number 3, I'd say that we persevered. We started this during COVID. We kept going after COVID ended. We started it because we were kind of bored. And now that COVID's over, we're busy again. And we're still doing it. And I think that's commendable.
Yeah. Yep. It's definitely been a good obstacle for, I wouldn't call it an obstacle, but just something.
Challenge.
Yeah, just a challenge.
It's a challenge.
For us to get this together and to be able to have been doing it for this long. And
we're on pace.
And especially now, being able to find this rhythm where we're going to be able to, we're trying to post every month, and we're doing a good job of.
We're 1/6 of the way through the year, and we're still going. That's nearly 20% of the year right there that we've been able to do. I'm proud of us.
Heck yeah! No, this is a really cool episode, and that one whole project comes to an end.
Before we go, thank yous are in order. Thank you, Boom. I appreciate your friendship, your loyalty, and your helpfulness during this time. It's been a great privilege to do this with you, and I'm happy to continue doing it. I'd like to thank Bam if he winds up listening to this. I'd like to thank Nick. I'd like to thank Cameron and my girlfriend because they've been supporting us. And anyone else who winds up listening to this at some point. I'd like to thank all the authors now long dead. If there is an afterlife, I hope at some point they get to tune in.
Yeah.
Because even the ones that we disliked, our To the Lighthouses and our To Kill a Mockingbirds, they were still important. And no matter what our criticisms are of those authors, it's not the same as our criticisms of that one specific author that we hate.
Exactly.
It's not the same.
No, these all have a place in this series for a reason. I'm happy we got to read each and every one.
Even if it's just historical significance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. I wouldn't have a single book be changed in this season.
Do you have any thank yous to rattle off?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, thank you, Spice. This has been one of the best times I've had in an extracurricular that we've chosen to do. I really appreciate your insights on these, especially. I mean, a lot of these I'm going outside, especially at the start. I'm outside of my own comfort zone.
Yeah.
With reading and understanding. So you holding my hand through that, a lot of these, it means a lot.
I almost forgot Danny. Thank you, Danny.
Yep, that was coming up. Thank you, Danny. I'm sure we're going to have you on again. That was a good time.
Can only hope.
You've got excellent insights, too, and congratulations with all the success I've seen you have lately with your own writing. I'm glad you got a chance to read Frankenstein. Cameron, of course, being able to, from that first episode, trying to put Sheldon away because we were afraid of him making noise.
That wound up being futile.
So thank you for putting up with it, Bam, for being a part of it and also being quiet.
Yeah, sometimes.
As he's often here while we're doing this.
Being such a good sport.
Yeah.
I know we make fun of him, but it wouldn't be the same without him. Thank you, Sheldon, wherever you are right now.
Of course, I know. I'm going to have to do some new cover art for season 2.
It's
Our
exciting.
little cat curled up on a book, maybe.
Yeah. Love that cat. And, thank you to all the authors that we've read this year. I know, obviously, the dearly departed Maya Angelou and Octavia Butler and Harper Lee. And God, it's so sad to see them all gone. And obviously the long gone, but still dearly missed Virginia Woolf and company. Daphne du Maurier is between those two. It's I hope we do a little more contemporary work at some point with women's authors and female authors, because it's very sad to see that they're all gone. And I wish I could tell Virginia Woolf just how much it means to me, the way she wrote, what she wrote.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Bo.
Yeah, right back at you. Thank you for this. I'm ecstatic that we made it.
Yeah, and to another season, at least.
At least.
Yeah, at least. God willing. On that note, love you, Boom. I'm Spice.
I love you, Spice. I'm Boom. Thank you all sincerely. And we'll see you next time.